Hi, everyone. My name's Laura Zaharakis, and I wanted to welcome you to our session called SCUTA, the simplest way to document and analyze time to optimize your program impact. We're really excited to be here at the 2022 Summer Counselor Conference. And Steve, why don't you go introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Steve Zaharakis. My background is engineering and software development. I've been working with thousands of school counselors over the last 7 years. I actually married the first school counselor I ever met 27 years ago. And SCUTA was developed for my wife, Laura, and is dedicated to school counselors around the world.
Yep, and my name's Laura. I've been a school counselor for about 25 years. And the idea for SCUTA came up because I had a need, wanting to be more data-driven, wanting to figure out what I had to do. And using SCUTA, I was able to achieve RAMP for my school in 2020. And I've also been very involved with the school counselor professional associations, both locally and at the state level. Just to go over what we're going to cover today, we are going to talk with you about why time documentation and analysis supports a data-driven school counseling program. We're going to show you how to document those services very, very easily. We're also going to try to share some ways that you can share the data about your school counseling program and what you're doing as a school counselor with stakeholders. And also, we want to just give you a couple of examples about how the analysis captured by SCUTA will help you advocate for your program and your students. SCUTA stands for School Counselor Use of Time Analysis. That's one of the first questions we get, but basically the acronym SCUTA describes exactly what we're going to talk to you about today.
Like myself, Deming was an electrical engineer. Douglas MacArthur asked him to consult for the Japanese government. He introduced him to statistical process control and to incremental improvement. I love his insights. And one of them that I think is apropos here is that it's not enough to do your best. You must know what to do and then do your best. The ASCA National Model guides school counselors in development of school counseling programs. For this discussion, we'll focus on the manager part, specifically program planning, where we define our goals. First, we review all of the data and the needs. And based on that, we come up with goals. Then these goals should really be compatible with the school district, the school, and the school counselor goals. Now, if everything's done correctly, they perform in unison and one affects the other. And that's how we define the annual student outcome goals. Now we'll look at the deliver part of the national model. How do you know what activities and services you have delivered if you don't document them? How would you assess their effectiveness if you don't have anything documented? Deming would say you can't manage what you don't measure. Now, let's take an honest look at our daily activities. Do they truly help us achieve our goals? This is where the annual administrative conference is very important. It establishes common goals and expectations.
And that problem of figuring out what we're actually doing and finding a way to measure it is how we came up with the idea with SCUTA. I know that for myself, I was giving a lot of service, indirect and direct services to my students. I felt like I was running around all day, and I really couldn't say exactly what I was doing. So when I started thinking about really trying to up my game and implement a comprehensive school counseling model and using the ASCA National Model as reference, I figured out, well, hey, I got to find out what I do first. So that's how we came up with SCUTA. So with SCUTA, I can work with the kids and the teachers and the parents, the families all day long, then document what I do, and then I get really great reports that helps me reflect on my program and answer those questions for myself. Is what I'm doing reflective of a comprehensive model, and is it in line with what my goals are for my program and my kids? And here on this slide, I want to introduce you to Diana Virgil. She is our director at SCUTA for our SCUTA ambassadors, and I really wanted to capture in this presentation about why she uses data, how she uses SCUTA, and what it's done for her and for her school counseling program.
Yeah, Diana's our director, and she manages over 160 SCUTA ambassadors.
And she really started using this kind of data because it, like I had said before, it helps her capture what she's doing as a school counselor. And the impact of that was that she could more efficiently deliver a tier 1 curriculum that truly meets the needs of her students in her specific school. She was able to set side for more intentional one-on-one counseling, and it really elevated her, what do I want to say, position in the school as a more impactful, influential person on the leadership team at that school. And she was also able to just really use what SCUTA captured as her student needs and her service um, to create some school-wide initiatives and activities to benefit all the students. So we keep talking about data that's captured by SCUTA. So before we get into it a little deeper, I just wanted to highlight on what a SCUTA report looks like and how you find the information you need to do everything that I just described. So here on this use of time analysis, you can see highlighted in red that by using SCUTA, documenting what kind of work you're doing, in this example, 12% was on non-school counseling tasks. Then if you want to get a little bit deeper, you can look within non-school counseling tasks. You can break that down and see, well, what is the bulk of that work? And here in this example, this is for, you see the hours there, 9,118. It's for a whole district, but the bulk of their non-school counseling tasks are on standardized tests. So that's a talking point. That's a data point to bring up with stakeholders, supervisors, managers about how school counselors are spending their time. And is this really what we want them to be spending almost 10,000 hours on? And the reason this is so important is because it elevates your ability to advocate for your students. There's a quote there: most of the world will make decisions by either guessing or using their gut. They will be either lucky or wrong. So I know a lot of us feel about what we're doing, but by documenting your time, getting an analysis and a report helps you check that. Is it really what you're feeling, or is it something else? And that's just a more legitimate, persuasive way to share the kinds of changes you want to make for your students, your goals, your school, and how you're functioning within the school community.
Picking up what Laura was talking about as far as data, Dr. Norfleet's been using SCUTA for over 6 years. She manages about 60 school counselors, and what she's been able to do is increase direct student services by 24% and compared to the pre-pandemic times. She's done all that using the use of time analysis and specifically the Pareto analysis. Dr. Norfleet was able to improve pre-pandemic 45% direct student service time allocation, bringing it all the way up to 56%. Her next target is to minimize non-school counseling tasks, and that's currently at 6%. As you can see, a Pareto analysis of 6% non-school counseling tasks reveals that more than a quarter of the time, 27%, is allocated to standardized testing. Another 23% of that time is 504 duties, and 13% of that is arrival dismissal duties. This type of insight is why the Pareto analysis is so powerful. What the Pareto analysis basically does is it orders all the tasks in descending amount of time and prioritizing them. That way we're looking at the big ticket items first and not looking at minutia. As a result, Dr. Norfleet was able to improve things for her students, for her school counselors, and for her school counseling program, all through the power and analysis that SCUTA has. So simply just using one-click reports inside SCUTA and spending amount of time not collecting data, but analyzing the data that she has. What she was able to do is to make data talk for herself. A second example that we have is Liz Parker, who manages close to 200 school counselors. She's used SCUTA for years in multiple school districts. Using data she identified in SCUTA's Pareto analysis, she was able to almost double the number of elementary school counselors in her school district. This year, she set as a goal to decrease standardized testing by 25% and to decrease the 504 coordination and case management by over 1/3.
So hopefully you can see the impact of how documenting how school counselors are spending their time with their students and in their schools can be effective, and why it's so important, because it really helps us talk about what we do. I just wanted to show you before we get a little deeper into things like how SCUTA captures the data. You might be wondering about that. We use just a really simple calendar format that with drop-down menus, it's color-coded according to the ASCA categories. The user defines the workday hours, the time resolution, all kinds of things like that. And I think it's important to note also that the statistical analysis compares your time that you're inputting with the Ask a National Model goals for a school counseling program. It's not meant to be used in an evaluative way, but just really, like I said before, like for self-reflection and checking and finding areas of improvement, finding areas of your service delivery that you could tweak to maybe be more impactful, more efficient. But that's basically what the main screen looks like. And users can also choose if they look at it by a month view, a week view, and a day view. Again, this is just a little bit of a close-up of what the drop-down menus look like. The fields with a red asterisk need to be completed in order to save the event. And we also added definitions above all of the topics, which are the activities that school counselors do. That really helps standardize, make sure everybody is calling an activity by the same name. And that we found that was really, really important, because when we started doing this work with school counselors and developing the application, new student visit would mean different things to different school counselors, for example. So the definitions and making sure everybody's on board of knowing what's what is really important to have valid data. And like I said before, not every field is required to be filled out. You can use what's most meaningful and helpful for you. But for example, there, if you fill out the focus and domain, which is a list of focus areas with kids, anything from family issues like you see there to academics to attendance, you can get a report specifically about what kinds of work you're doing, what are the concerns and needs of your students. You can do a referral source analysis if you complete that field. And the student group Pareto analysis is always interesting too, because you can see which students you are working with the most in your school, either directly or indirectly. So we're going to go through a couple slides to just show you real quick what the reports look like, and then Steve's going to help you see what that looks like interactively in the calendar. So this is the basic use of time analysis. This is the one that's very fun to look at periodically throughout your week or your month, because you will see what percentage of time you are spending in each of those categories. In this case, this is compared to the Ask a National Model. Within each of those categories, this is the Pareto analysis. So you're going to see a subset. So for example, all the way on the left, out of direct student services, the number one service was in the form of student support. The topic analysis is what I find one of the most useful reports to quick reference. This is the one that catalogs everything that you do and ranks it from most time to least time. What I love about this is it gives you the frequency and the hours and the percentage of time. And this is the report that when people are doing their end of the year reports or end of the quarter reports for like how many group sessions you did, how many parent meetings you did, how much time you spent lesson planning, that's all captured in one place. You don't have to look in a bunch of different folders and notes and documentation pages. It's all right there for you. The student group service log is a confidential list of all your services to a student. So you can put in the student or the name of a group there and see all your work, either direct or indirect, with that student, from writing reference letters to phone calls with parents to discussing things with teachers. And this is the part that really saves time. Sometimes I feel a barrier to documenting how you spend your time is you don't want to document your case notes or your direct service notes and then have to document somewhere else too. In this application, SCUTA, you can do it all in one place. So not shown on the screen is there is another column there. If that little I would be open, you'd see another column that says notes, and that's where you can put a couple confidential notes about what you talked about. And the student Pareto analysis is, this is really important for advocating. I used this a lot when we came back from the pandemic. This is a sample from my work the first month of the 21-22 school year, and you can see that one student at the top that's highlighted was taking 28 hours in that 1 month of school. So this kind of analysis helped me advocate for that student to get more services from the special education department. Obviously, the student was in need of more support in the school setting, and this was a really easy way for me to quantify that for the supervisors and the teachers. And focus analysis. For example, the top focus in doing direct work with students that first month of school was in coping skills. So in this situation, the school counseling team may decide to do some tier one interventions with students, helping them learn and practice and think about healthy coping skills. So that's one way that focus analysis can help drive your program and your tiered supports in a data-driven way. SCUTA tags, I really started using again this year. We were short-staffed in my school without a behavior specialist, so I was tagging everything I did that was really a behavior specialist job. I wanted to tag it so that I could discuss that and help my principal advocate with his supervisors to get a behavior specialist assigned to our school. So tags are for when there's like a special kind of service you want to examine a little bit more deeply. Maybe you want to tag everything that you do with a certain classroom or with a certain category of students. Steve, do you want to explain what the one school district did with their at-risk students and how they use tags?
Yeah, in Ohio, they had received a grant for working with at-risk students, and they were in need of documenting the time that they were spending with students for the grant. Now, that turned to be very cumbersome for them. When they found SCUTA, they asked if SCUTA was able to accommodate that, and we said, sure, just use the tags. And that really simplified things because now they were able to document all kinds of things. And with a simple tag, we have automated tag reports. So it was one click and they got a report with all the details. And the manager was able to actually do the reports for everyone. So the accumulation of everyone's data without asking for that. So it's really an integrated environment. It simplifies management. And we got a ton of features and reports in there. If there is some type of report that you're looking for and we don't have it, all you got to do is email us and we'll make sure you have it very quickly.
Okay, I love this visual about data. And I'm sure many of us have probably seen this circulating on social media, but it really, when I came across it, I'm like, that was me. Before I started documenting my time and looking at these kinds of reports, I felt like I had a lot of data information about the students, but not any information about my work with the students and what my program was actually doing. So that little visual is just like mind blowing for me. It really changed my game. Um, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but I wanted you to understand that when you feel like all you're doing is putting out fires and running around the school and doing different kinds of activities, when you capture it using an application like SCUTA, you're going to get reports that are going to explain visually, and you can explain it with a story about what's really happening and what kind of services you are providing and where the strengths of your program are and maybe where the weaknesses are and things that you want to work on. So again, that was just a summary of what I said, that SCUTA reports enable you to share what you do in a confidential way. And that was always what was challenging. Like, how can I tell you what I'm doing without breaching confidentiality or talking about the students specifically? It really has helped me identify tier one intervention and supports. It's helped identify students who are in need of tier two supports within the school. It's a quick reference to how many times I'm doing something or how many hours I'm spending doing something.
And like we said earlier, managers can also have all of the reports that a user has, and they could do it as an aggregate. So for all the school counselors, they could do it for the whole school district. They could do it by level, elementary, middle, high, or they could do it by school or by school counselor. So it's really an integrated way and a very flexible way of creating reports and utilizing data for analysis.
Yeah, it helps compare and contrast things year to year or month to month, school to school, neighborhood to neighborhood. So that's really important. And I love the real-time comparison with the Ask a National model, because not that I use it like to evaluate myself in a negative way, but it's just kind of a fun little thing to look at. Wow, this was a really big indirect week, or this week I had to help out with a lot of things and do some non-school counseling tasks. So it's kind of fun to look at that. And the other thing I put on there was about job satisfaction. This was a byproduct of using SCUTA and seeing how I spent my time that I wasn't expecting. But I know sometimes in my situation, I'm at a very large urban school, I feel stressed because I feel like my to-do list never gets shorter and I'm running around all day. But But then when I started to kind of see how much I did do, even if it wasn't what was on my agenda that day, it helps me feel good. Like, okay, I might not have done A, B, and C, but I did X, Y, Z, and that's important work. So it did kind of increase my positive feelings when I left the building to focus on what I did do rather than what I did not get to. And of course, like we said before, it helps advocate to eliminate non-school counseling tasks. And hopefully, like in that one school district we gave you the example for, you can really use these kinds of reports to advocate for lower student to school counselor ratios. And now we're going to go to the demo of what it looks like live in the calendar system.
Okay, so our goal here is just to show you a little bit about SCUTA. So to do this, you go to myscuta.com and you could click on the try for free, or you could do the login. So let's just log in. As soon as we log in, we've got the dashboard, and it's telling us, first of all, that every Wednesday at 3 p.m., we've got training. It showed us here, it's synced with Google, and it's showing funds that are available for the school that I'm logged in, $12,448,000. I'll close that. Here we've got just a summary on the dashboard. This here is the use of time analysis part. I think this is a great report in that this is showing us the use of time analysis on the monthly view. So, and if I wanted to focus on, let's say, non-school counseling, I could eliminate the others and just see that I've got a lot of non-school counseling in September and in December and so on and so on. The heart of the application, we start off in the profile. You can click on the profile and go to the account, and this is where you would specify the zip code of your school. The dates, you'd show the time resolution. I'm just going to default by 15 minutes. And we have a start of the school year, the end of the school year. That's great for repeat events. That's enough that I wanted to go through. We're really going to focus on the calendars. We've specified that school starts at 7:30. So the areas before 7:30 are gray. And we said that the earliest that we get to school is at 6 o'clock. This way we could do analysis with school hours, outside school hours, and all school hours. To create an event, I'm going to create an event, let's say on Thursday at 7:30. I can click on that cell, and now I'm going to specify the duration, knowing that each cell is 15 minutes. So that's 15 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes. This is a 1 hour event. Once I release, the input panel appears. Let me move this out here, and we'll move our heads out of the way here for a little bit. And here are the categories. So we've got all of the 7 ASCA categories plus special. And if we're not familiar with something, all you've got to do is hover over it, and we have a complete description. So, Laura, what would you like to start off with? Let's create an event together.
Let's do a classroom lesson.
Okay, instruction. I'm going to go to classroom lesson. Would you like a referral?
Yeah, let's say that the teacher asked me to come in and do something with the kids specifically.
And as Laura said, only the stars are required. Everything else is optional. Okay. And would you like to pick a focus or no?
Sure. Let's say that the focus is going to be friendship. So I think that would be social skills down at the bottom.
There you go. Okay. And a lesson?
Well, I guess, are there pre-populated lessons in there, Steve?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so let's pick friendship flowers.
Thousands of lessons here.
Yeah, so that means that
you know what? I'm going to pick something else. I'm going to just pick this. I know it doesn't really matter. I'll just pick that one because it has surveys. So we'll just leave that in. Okay, we'll talk about surveys another time. And we've got the description. Would you like a description or no?
No, it's okay.
Okay. Would you like to pick students or specify a group?
Yeah, let's say I'm going to do it in a classroom called K202.
Okay, let's see. I think we have a K202. K202. So I picked that one. So is that kindergarten 202 classroom? Is that what you have?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And did you want to put any tags here?
No, it's okay.
And is it a repeat event?
No.
And notice we can repeat daily, weekly, and whatever. And did you want to put any notes?
I could put a note in there. I could say friendship lesson regarding recess issues, Just so that I can remember. It's not, nobody else will see that, but just so I can kind of remember why the teacher asked me to do
Okay.
that lesson. Yeah,
And I'll
perfect.
just hit save, right?
Hmm.
Great. So we just created this. And now because it has a lesson, it has this. Now, when we do events, notice the cursor tells the story here. So you see it's got a pointer. If I click on it, I'm able to edit it. I can hit cancel. I can, if the cursor goes near it, you see now it's a resizer. So I can stretch it out, increase the time, or decrease the time. As I click on it, it edits. Now here, we could do a pre and a post, and very quickly, this, since it has a survey, I can click here, and here's a page that has all the survey information.
So that's just to explain, that's pre-created by the user. That's
Right.
not in there for everybody.
And now if I wanted to, I could ask people to come here. If I click on the QR code, with your phones, you could actually take a picture of this and it'll take you to that survey page. If you were to do that, we'd be able to see the results. So maybe while we were doing this, you guys could do it. And then when you have the questions and answers, we can show you the results. So that's here. So that would be the pre, and this one is the post, just in case you want to do that. And we'll talk about that later. I'm going to get out of that. So that was enough with the surveys and everything. So let's create another event, Laura. So I'm going to click here and drag. What would you like this one to be?
Let's do a counseling session.
Okay, counseling. And notice how it's dynamic. Now this changes again based on what you're doing. And you have ways of minimizing this by level. So you can specify in your profile if you just wanted elementary school, middle school, high school, and so on. So what would you like to pick, Laura?
I would want to pick counseling individual.
Counseling individual. Okay. And the referral?
Let's say it was the parent.
Okay, parent. And what's the focus?
Anxiety.
Anxiety. A lot of that going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can pick, let's pick my favorite, Allen Iverson. Okay. And did you want a tag or no?
No.
Okay. Notice you can do repeat. You can have a confidential note here. Do you want to just say my note?
Okay.
And also, if you wanted to, you could add an attachment. So we'll just hit save. So we just created this event, the second event. Would you like another event or?
Do you want to do one more? Sure.
Right.
Let's do an indirect service one.
Indirect service.
So let's go to referrals, consultation,
Okay.
collaboration.
And what would you like here?
How about if we do a meeting?
Okay, meeting.
Okay.
And see how it's dynamic here. It changes based on what we're doing. What kind of meeting would you like?
We're
And
gonna
again, the definitions appear.
Mhm. We'll just do an IEP meeting.
IEP. And do you want to specify a role that you had in the IEP meeting?
No, but what I do tend to do is in the description, I'll say who was there.
Okay.
So I'll say, let's just say Smith, Jones, and mom. And that's just, again, the description is for me, right? So I know what that means. I know who those people are.
And I'm just going to pick Allen Iverson again here. And repeat or no?
No.
Okay. So let me put a note in here because we could show this in the items. You want to say something specific?
No, it's okay. Just put
Right.
my note like you did before.
Great meeting. Okay.
Okay.
And I hit save. So we just created 3 events. And notice the color coding, it's consistent. So if you're looking at orange events, you know that they're non-school counseling. So this simply tells a story even with colors. And what Laura was saying before is, notice here you can see Allen Iverson, and we've got confidentiality, right? So here is the eye. When I click on that, notice it's taking away all the information. So I bring it back, it's there. I take it away, it's gone. So it's showing and hiding information. Would you like to, should we go to the reports for a sec now, or are we okay with this? Obviously, you can create repeat events. I'll make one repeat event real quickly. Okay. I'll just pick some category that we don't have, facial responsibility, and I'm just going to pick duty, and I'll pick hall duty. Okay. And I'm going to say, let's move this out of the way. I'm going to say repeat daily. And I could say how many times, or I could say until the end of the school year. So I'm just going to say I'm going to go 2 times, and I'm going to hit save. So we just created this, the original event and 2 others. So very quickly, you can easily populate your calendar. Now, the big thing is, as you have experience with creating events, at the beginning of the year, you're able to really do a land grab. What I mean by that is it's great. You could say that on average, 30, 40, 50% of your calendar could be predefined at the beginning of the school year. By doing the land grab, you're not now like at someone's whim. You could say, hey, you know what? Yes, Johnny fell and has a problem, and I could go see him, or I've got a lesson scheduled here with this classroom. What would be more beneficial? So simply populating the calendar for events at the beginning of the year is really advantageous. It's very simple to do. It's very complete. And again, you could have as much detail as you want or as little detail as you want. The more the detail, the more data you'll be able to get out of it. So, but you could start off with minimum amounts of data. Now, Laura, did you want any other type of event?
No, that's fine.
Great. So let's go to reports. So here is our menu. You've got a dashboard, school, calendar, and reports. When you click on this, all of these are one-click reports. So I'm just going to click on the first one. So here's use of time analysis. And I'll move this out of the way so that we're okay. I'll put it in the center here. So let's just go here and specify a date range. Let's say this week, since this is what we've been working on. So looking at this week, these are the events that we created together, okay? And 20% of our time is instruction. 12.3% was appraisal. And we've got 3 hours here. Here are the frequencies, and so on and so on. So it's really simple. Now, if I look at this, this is for all hours. If I pick school hours, it changes. And if I pick outside school hours, again, it changes. Now, it's really insightful in showing us, what's going on outside school hours. And if we wanted to go to all hours and change the time period again, notice the response of this. I could say for this school year, and look how quickly it did this school year. I could go and calculate last school year. Again, the speed of this is amazing. So the other report I think that we should look at is, notice here we've got 12% non-school counseling. So this is a great number, but it's not actionable. That's why we have the Pareto analysis. So saying that 12% of your time is non-school counseling is great for information, but what can you do with it? If you go to your admin with your Pareto analysis, though, for the same time period, it shows you what that 12% is comprised of. So you could have a better conversation now and say, hey, you know what? 28% of my time, my non-school counseling time, is comprised of student discipline. First of all, maybe I shouldn't really be doing student discipline. And then we've got the 504s. So again, here your data can talk for yourself. Did you want to say anything about this, Laura?
No, I think the big takeaway is that if all you do is populate that calendar, you're going to get a wide variety of different kinds of reports and information. It could be very detailed. It could be more broad, whatever you need as a starting point to advocate for your program and make sure that you are maximizing your time as a school counselor in the school.
I think let's go change the date range. Let's go to one more report. And I think the student group service log is a great report to look at. And just because we made this before, I'm going to go back to this week, since this week we specified things with Alan Iverson. So I can come here and now specify a student, and I could go back and say again, Alan Iverson, and I just pick him. And it knows that Alan Iverson is in a couple of groups, so I can say, yeah, add whatever we have here for him. I want to include those groups. Again, here, what it's doing is showing us all the events that we specified together and with the notes. See my note again, and great meeting. Notice what happens when we hit on the confidentiality. Both the note and the student's name disappear. Now, very quickly, I could also go and say, what did we do for him this year? And look at all the records that we have of what we've done with Alan Iverson. Not only that, when we enable the eye, we'll see all the notes that we have and the descriptions. I think that's very powerful and something that a lot of school counselors really love. So we've
Yeah,
got
I love,
41 events and
yeah.
70 hours, 1.7 hours per occurrence on
Okay,
average.
let me add there. The reason this is so nice is because, like I had mentioned before, we don't have to do double documentation. And you could be somewhere in a child study team meeting, MTS meeting, and somebody brings up a student you're not meeting about, you can real quickly answer the question. If somebody asks you, well, when did you talk to his mom? You don't have to remember. You can just pull up the student service log and you can tell somebody. So it makes your time very, very efficient. You don't have to run back to your office to check your notebook, for example. It's all right with you.
Yeah, one of the things that we mentioned is the ASCA national model and then other state models. As you can see in front of us, this is based on the ASCA national model. And for those people that are in different states that have a state model, I'm just going to give you an example. So I'm going to change the state. So I'm going to go into my accounts. I'm going to go to the school, and I'm going to change the zip code. And I'm going to pick something from Texas. Here's a zip code in Texas, and I'm going to pick a school, and I'll pick Scarsboro High School or Smith Elementary. So basically what I did now is I specified the zip code. We picked the school from the dropdown, and look at this. It knows now that this is in Texas. When I hit save, it automatically does this. It says that it's been updated. When I go to my overview, it shows me now that I'm in Houston Independent School District, and there's $143 million available. When I go to reports, and look at this, now it says the Texas model. When I click on it, notice how everything now is different. So the category names are different. I've got a min and a max in the use of time analysis here. So I've got a range within which I'm supposed to be. And so basically with one click, it's automatically updated to the Texas model. And if I go even down to my help file, when I'm looking at my manual, everything has been updated for that kind of category. So now it's the Texas model. So you see we've got guidance curriculum. So you can see how easily you can create all of these reports. Now, I'll just very quickly just show you the other options that we have here. Under the school tab, you see we have beliefs, we have vision, we have mission, we have surveys, we have data summary, outcome goals, mindsets and behaviors plans. Again, we could very easily complete the ASCA templates for you too. Just click on the PDF and we automatically fill in the templates for you. Not only do we show you the mindsets and the activities, but also the participants, the dates, and these are all links. Lessons, annual administrative conference. Again, all you're going to do is click on this. It collects all the data automatically for you through the application. You click on the PDF. It completes your administrative conference form. Your advisory council, and it's got your students and the tags that we talked about. So in summary, we think that SCUTA is a great solution. It's a very powerful solution, and it's got amazing abilities as far as documenting your time and analyzing your results. Okay, so in SCUTA, if you have any need of help, again, we've got live training every Wednesday at 3 p.m. We've got a question and answer part. So you can come here and you can ask for questions. There's a manual, and in the manual, basically we have all of these categories and everything, all the descriptions. Again, with one click of the PDF, you can get it. You could look for a topic. So for example, if you're looking at suicide, it shows you everything that we have that deals with suicide. And it has a description of the topic and the subtopic, and here's the description. So if you wanted to, you could click here. Let's just say that you were looking at suicide risk screening. You could click here and it asks you, do you want me to add this to the calendar? Yes or no. You hit yes, it will add it to your calendar. And we've got video tutorials. So there's a lot of support for you inside SCUTA.
And just to summarize, now that we're towards the end of our presentation, we want to make sure that you remember that sharing your data story will boost your confidence and strengthen effective conversations with your stakeholders. It's really much more comfortable to go in there with some hard numbers and some hard facts about what's happening. And like I said before, and not just be like, well, I feel all I'm doing is cafeteria duty, or I feel like all I'm doing is putting out fires. You can really show that with the analysis reports that you will gain from using an application like SCUTA.
I think Laura's really bringing up a very important point here. Don't advocate, using emotion sometimes has its advantages, but what SCUTA allows you to do is to allow your own data to advocate for yourself, your program, and for your students.
So if you like really quick action items that you can do with this application is one, to share reports with supervising administrators. I just had a meeting with my new principal and we already put a standing dates on the calendar to have a monthly meeting. And he knows that I'm going to be sharing this data with him at those monthly meetings. You can include these reports as artifacts for your educator evaluations. And like I said, with that topic analysis report, it's a real quick way to spotlight your work and do like a little visual, like I have the example there on the slide. You can do that very, very easily with these reports. You don't have to count up different kinds of documentation sheets that you might have.
The annual admin meeting is so important. It's a way for you and your principal or your manager or your administrator to have a common vision. You're telling them really what your goals are, and you're gaining their buy-in. So you could go to them then and say, hey, you know what? This is kind of like the plan that we agreed upon. I need your help. So it's really a great way of doing things. And again, advocating using data, not I'm not able to do my job because of blah. The thing that they hear is I'm not able to do my job. That's the thing that's the impression that's gained. So using your data, looking at your data and advocating with your data is really a great way of doing things. And SCUTA is the tool that's going to help you do that easily.
So thank you. We hope that this has been helpful. We hope that you are motivated to just start capturing your time. We have a lot of detailed reports in there, but real simply, I would like to persuade and advocate for all of you to just start keeping track of how you're spending your time, maybe just for 1 week. Promise yourself you're going to do it, and then look at it and see what you gain from that and what kinds of information you can find.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your time with us. We hope that this presentation was informative. And if there's ever anything that we could do for you, you've got our number, you've got our email, contact us. Thanks.